Hey Gwen,
Yes,
where'd you bring me today?
Piedmont,
Piedmont. What state is that?
Wyoming.
I just, woke up from nap. I don't even know where you took us.
We are in western Wyoming.
Is that a jet airplane I just heard?
Thunder.
Thunder. Oh, well, what's in Piedmont?
We have some kilns.
Oh, look at that. And some thunder up there. So we might have to make this one short, especially if I see lightning. And over here, which I'll get you better views in a minute, we have what's left of the town of Piedmont. And hopefully the wind doesn't kick up too much for the drone. We'll see what happens. So what is Piedmont? Well, it used to be called Byron after Moses Byron, who decided to found the place. And he founded this as a supply station for the Transcontinental Railroad. He and his wives ended up moving here, and Charles Guild, another Mormon pioneer, moved here with him with his one wife. Thunder. And so they decided to make this station. Now, I don't see a railroad, let alone the Transcontinental Railroad, which should have passed right by here. Maybe it's on the other side of the hill. I don't know. That's going to require some digging. These kilns, though, they brought in pine and aspen logs to burn in these kilns. And the purpose of burning them was to make charcoal. Hence the black stuff you see on the inside of that kiln. Let's go see this. The trains coming across the United States from the Union Pacific Railroad needed the charcoal and they needed water. Now, the water was easy enough. Look, water. Charcoal was another story, and Charles Guild and Moses Byron figured they'd get a handle on that need right away. I'm gonna guess there was some money involved. Let's look at this. By the way, Gwen and I aren't the only ones here. Way over there are some cows with their babies. Little cow babies. Let's check this out. Because I'm gonna have to run back to the car, get the drone, fly the drone before the storm gets here, as well as take photos. Well, if it rains, we have somewhere somewhat safe. Oh, smells like charcoal. Wow. Over 100 years later, and this place still smells like charcoal. That's incredible.
Did the camera pick it up?
It should. So, this town was founded in 1867. These kilns were built by Moses Byron in 1866, I think, or 1867. We'll have to read the plaques. But anyway, well over 100 years old. I should know. And they've held up. There were originally 5 of these. We're down to 3.2. I'm just thankful that there's still 3.2. like a little bird nest activity in here. Not sure about the straw. And here they fence this one off to, well, keep people from taking the stones home probably, but that's pretty cool. So Gwen, is it hot out here?
No.
In fact, you're wishing you could put on your coat?
Yes.
Yeah, me
A
too.
little bit.
That storm's been moving in for a while, and with it, it's kind of cold.
There's a bumblebee.
I see that bumblebee. He's gone. All right, well, let's go around front here.
Some type of plaque up
Yep.
there.
We got to do this site quick, because I need photos. I need drone footage. Oh, look. It's before I even read it. Charcoal kilns were built by Moses Byron, 1869. I was off by a year, sue me, to supply the pioneer smelters in the Utah Valley. Piedmont kilns, with vast timber stands in the nearby Uinta Mountains, Moses Byron saw an opportunity, and in 1869 he built kilns to supply charcoal for the iron smelting industry in Utah. Yes, I'm just reading this. The conical-shaped kilns measure 30 feet across and 30 feet high. These kilns are one of the best remaining intact set of charcoal kilns in the region. The making of charcoal stopped in the early 1900s when the Union Pacific Rail Line was rerouted north of Piedmont, leaving Byron with no economical means of transporting his product to market.
So he did use the railroad.
Kiln design. Moses Byron built the kilns out of local materials, sandstone and limestone. Each kiln... Man, these birds are noisy for a quiet place. He built them out of sandstone and limestone. Each kiln has a large doorway and a high-placed backside window for loading cordwood. Vent holes were designed around the bottom of each kiln so that charcoal makers could adjust airflow during use. Once workers filled a kiln with logs, large metal coverings were mortared into place over the doorway and window to seal it before firing. Charcoal making. Charcoal, which resembles coal, is a brittle, lightweight, black porous substance that is 85% to 98% carbon. It is produced by slowly heating wood in a kiln. This process, called pyrolysis, removes the water and volatile compounds from the organic metal without burning it. For centuries, charcoal was favored as a fuel source because it burns hotter, cleaner, and more slowly than wood. Uses. Much of the charcoal made at Piedmont was set by railroad to mining ore smelters in Utah's Salt Lake Valley. Charcoal, which burns at more than 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, is used in smelting, a process of extracting metal, such as lead or copper, from its ore. Charcoal was also shipped to Fort Bridger as fuel for the blacksmith forges. Workers filled the kilns with about 30 cords of pine logs harvested in the nearby mountains. The logs were packed tight and double-stacked end to end. The wood was lit, but not allowed to burn fully, just smolder. Charcoal makers controlled the heat by plugging small air vent holes around the base of the kiln. It took 6 to 8 days of slow firing to reduce the wood to charcoal. The construction of the Transcontinental Railroad was one of the most significant events in the history of the West. Towns sprang up all along its tracks, some permanent and some short-lived. In 1868, the railroad arrived at Piedmont. Over the next 35 years, the town would experience thriving logging and charcoal-making industries, commerce, and population growth. all tied to the existence of the railroad. Rerouting the railroad. In 1901, the railroad completed a mile-long tunnel through Aspen Mountain, eliminating the previous rail route over the summit. Trains were rerouted from Leroy to the tunnel, bypassing the town of Piedmont. Why did they do that? Helper engines. Trains approaching Aspen Mountain west of Piedmont required helper engines to ascend the steep 8-mile grade. This part I had read. A siding, engine shed, and water tank were built in the town to house and maintain helper engines. The Golden Spike ceremony celebrating completion of the Transcontinental Railroad was scheduled to take place in Promontory Point, Utah on May 7, 1869. The day before, the train carrying Union Pacific Vice President Thomas Durant was halted at Piedmont by railroad ties piled on the tracks and 300 angry workers. I hear them now. The ghosts of 300 angry workers who demanded $200,000 in back pay. They have a reason to be angry. Red-faced, Durant wired for the money and paid the workers. His car was hooked to the next train, and the historic ceremony took place May 10th, 3 days late. Way to go, Piedmont workers.
Want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Tired of reading?
Well, just reading off a board. I mean, what kind of video is this?
Yeah.
I should have this stuff memorized, but you know, we're on our way somewhere and we just stopped here.
Well, you hope if they've put it up on a board that it's historically correct.
One would hope.
Instead of reading on the internet and getting multiple stories.
Right.
Located west of the kilns, the town of Piedmont started out as a logging camp supplying ties for the approaching Union Pacific Railroad in the 1860s. It also served as a base camp for graders building the railroad bed over nearby Aspen Mountain. More and more people moved to Piedmont to work for the railroad or logging operations. The town became a thriving community, complete with a general store, hotel, school, post office, and several saloons. Of course, there's always several saloons. The local legend in 1896, Butch Cassidy met up with his boys in Piedmont before riding off to rob the Multiplier, Idaho Bank. Treasure seekers still search for the stolen gold reportedly buried nearby. Calamity James, frontierswoman and professional scout, apparently lived in Piedmont as a young girl. The first residents among the first settlers in the area were the Moses Byron family and the Charles Guild family. In fact, Piedmont was originally named Byron, but the name was changed to prevent confusion with the nearby town of Byron.
My camera's in the way.
Mrs. Byron and Mrs. Guild, who were sisters and natives of Piedmont, Italy, chose the name Piedmont, which means foot of the mountains in Italian. Around 1901, the railroad line was rerouted a few miles north of Piedmont through the newly completed Aspen Tunnel. Without the railroad, the logging and charcoal businesses collapsed. It was the beginning of the end. Piedmont struggled on until the 1940s when the Guild Mercantile Store closed for lack of business. Remnants of old homes, the kilns, and cemeteries still exist today. Let's go see a photographer in his element down here. What he's taken a picture of.
So these homes have been here for over 150 years. All it takes is one good grass fire to wipe them out. No ideas, people, but I appreciate they're still here for me to see. pretty substantial sized cabin. We can't seem to keep the cows out of it. Well, maybe because it was made for cows. Or horses. How much longer will it be here? Maybe 20 years? Maybe another 100, who knows? Now for my Steven Spielbergs out there that are always telling me there's a better way to do things, there is a cover over this GoPro. The wind noise you're hearing cannot be helped. Just enjoy, okay? Enjoy it. For those of you that don't know, you have to quiet your soul. Don't look for what's wrong. Just feel something that's right for a change. Ah, another homeless person. Keep seeing homeless people in these places.
My hair is blowing in the wind.
Does that wind sound loud? That's because it is loud. Look, a semblance of wallpaper still. (1867), 1866 actually, 1866 to about 1870. A few short years, right? And all this was built. Sadly, cows have been using it for shelter. Because who cares about some old buildings, right? Especially those people with their writing all over the walls. Well, I care about old buildings, which is why I'm here filming them. The entire floor is cow manure. I wonder if the kids who wrote on the walls knew they were standing in cow manure. Here are things people have found and left on this windowsill. Not sure what that first one is. Second's a coffee cup. This next one looks like an inkwell. The letter D. That might be a fishing spool, I'm not sure. Little silver spoon. A tooth. An animal tooth. Bullet shells. That would be a silver spoon right there. Now, do you guys remember what I said in one of my previous, that I don't care if there's a gold brick sticking out of the ground, I'm not taking it? Well, I'm not taking that silver spoon either.
I like that somebody took the time to lay that all out so that we could see it.
Yes. Somebody else like ourselves that valued the history more than the treasure of a keepsake. And up there is a noisy bird.
Burned home, 1892 to 1940.
Oh,
Byron
wow.
home.
I'm in the shadow a bit. Willie Byron home. And the other plaque's been chipped out and gone. Very cool. Here you go. You hold that and walk up. Walk up here, just watch your step. Is awesome. Here's the view right there.
Oh, wow.
Now you got me looking for plaques. I don't see a plaque for this house though.
Sorry if my hair keeps getting in the video. I like the light reflecting through the bars of wood. Very pretty.
Oh, these are cool pictures. I have to say I love this place. Absolutely love it. Sorry if my camera shutter Oh, no, I'm talking to you. Sorry if my camera shutter keeps interrupting the quiet place video. I'm kind of doing two things at once, and that's why I gave the camera to Gwen, so she can capture the quiet place and I can capture my photos. Go ahead, videographer.
I have been videographing.
So Piedmont, Wyoming. Another small town that lived for a very small life. Built on the hopes and dreams of a couple of families who wanted to capitalize on the transcontinental railroad coming through. And the needs of everyone, basically. And for a few short years, it actually worked out. And that's all any of us can really hope for, isn't it? That we get a dream, we make the dream come true, and if we get a few short years out of it, that's awesome. For right now, we're just going to enjoy this as another quiet place.